Welcome back to the Impactful Salon Owners Podcast. I'm your hostess, Jacquelyn Rodriguez, and today we are going into part 3 of the series, the Beauty Bill package. And we, in part 1, have been talking all about the importance and the impact that these bills have on the beauty industry. Part 2, we went into depth and we explained each of the 4 key bills in the Safer Beauty Bill package, minus the PFAS Act, because that's going to be a whole separate episode on its own because it's such a large bill and there's so many details to that. But we talked about what they were and where they currently stand. And then today's episode, we are going to go deep into how you can start to take action. So I want you to welcome back Hannah, my co-star, my co-host for these series. And thank you for coming back on. If you're ready to create a salon business that thrives, but also aligns with your values of clean, holistic, and sustainable practices, then you're in the right place. Whether you're just getting started on your journey or you're already running a successful salon but crave more impact and clarity, this podcast is for you. We're going to dive deep into mindset, systems, and strategies that help salon owners like you grow and scale your business while staying true to your purpose. Every week, we are going to have real conversations about the challenges, the successes of running a holistic salon. And I'll give you my insider tips. So if you're ready to transform your salon into a powerhouse of purpose, profit, and peace, let's get started.
Thanks for having me back on, Jacquelyn, especially since the last time I was on here, we were chatting for 3 hours. I appreciate just being back on and talking more about this.
Well, like I told you in the beginning, I really think that this is such an important part, and to break down all the pieces of what it is, how it's affecting us. And then in today's episode, like I said, we're going to go into how you can actually start to take action. Because the only way anything is going to happen is if we start to actually take the action to make the change. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. So with the beauty bill packages, what would you say, what's the first thing we need to start doing?
So, I guess the first plan of action is to actually go to either of the websites, whether it's the Breast Cancer Prevention Partners website or the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics website. They are both linked to each other on their pages as well. So it's very easy to find one with the other. As well as please go through and read the bills as well too. You know, Jacquelyn and I obviously went through these, but there is so much more detail in them as well. And this way you also become a lot more familiar with these bills. Plus, then it is really important when you do take action of emailing or calling or writing letters to your representatives, because you can create your own message if you like to. But I will say this is the first step I would take. Is if you go to the Take Action page on either of these websites, it shows that if you just, you can put in your name, your address, and what it does is it connects you to your representative based on where you live. And as it connects you to your rep, it also gives you a pre-written template of why this bill is so important. So it asks your representatives for you, can you co-sponsor this? Can you advocate for this? And I believe sometimes it's easier to have a pre-written template, especially when you're really new at this, just because it's really overwhelming, I feel like. especially when you have a million things going on, especially when, it's just sometimes it's really hard to focus and be like, well, what do I want to say? How do I want to say it? These pre-made templates are really easy. It also makes it really quick. So when you are really getting in the groove of it, it's easy to put in your name, put in your address, click the send button. It also tells you who it's sending it to, so you can find out who your representative is that way, as well. We are, in election season, so of course, like it's bound to change, uh, uh, who is representing you. But it does also keep you informed. You can also then read, if you didn't know who your person was before, now you know, and you can read into them a little bit as well. They usually always follow up too with an email after you send out anything kind of advocating for whatever you're advocating for. So my representative is Rashida Tlaib. I've gotten lots of emails back from her group, like her and her group, saying, thank you for, taking the time to email us and letting us know that that this is something that you care about. Which I think is, again, it shows that, yes, like your people are listening to you. And you want to feel represented, right? So, so that's really great. That is one way that you can take action on these bills. It takes 5 minutes. It's really quick. And again, you can personalize these templates to make it, more about your own experience. I think we all have our own experiences that we want to share. So it really does put our story and our voice out there as well.
And I will say, excuse me, of course. I will say when I went through and took the templates, of course, doing what I do, with my salon and with, the academy and with the green beauty community, there's a lot of different things that are really important to me. And I wanted to put my version of the story, what was really important to me and how I see that it could make a big impact, right? So I'm not always like, I have a learning disability. I get all frustrated. I'm very busy. I have lots of different things going on. So having the template and then recording into my phone what's important to me and throwing that into ChatGPT gave me an amazing template, like something very personalized to me. So I saved that. And I'm sending every month. I think I sent it last month, like you can send it a few times a month. And what I loved, what we were talking about is I have this template, I'm sending it on a regular basis, but you gave me a really great idea when we had that amazing 3-hour conversation to get my team involved and for us to together pick a day and all of us send in our emails or, however you want to do it, whether it's call, email, or sending a postcard, you said. So we're going to do that now together as a team. And I'm going to start talking to my clients about it because, again, in that 3-hour conversation we talked about how this impacts the clients. And what I see is my clients care about this. They care about their beauty products. They care about what's going to happen with them, how they're being regulated. They just don't know where to go either. And that's why why I'm having the podcast is because it's so important as a salon owner, a beauty professional leader, for you to inform yourself, put this together, and then educate your clients. And what I love about this, right? It's multiple fold, because one, you're educating them on something that's very important. You're educating yourself and you're educating your team. But the cool part is this also plays into a bigger picture for my clients, where this is the perceived value that I give my clients. It doesn't cost me anything to research this, put together a template, and inform my team and my clients. But the value that it gives is so much greater, right? So this puts me in a position where I can be the leader in my community to start making changes. And all of the feedback that I get from our clients is phenomenal. They take steps with me, but they're also really, they leave the salon empowered to do something bigger. And it only takes them 5 seconds. Like while they're sitting there, they can send it. If you have it really set up very easily, you can even put a little QR code right there in my menu. I have a little menu that tells them all about our services. And right there, I can have sign the bill, talk about it, give them the tools.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned that, because it is just making it accessible, just like they made it accessible to us, both BCPP and Campaign for Safe Cosmetics. You make it accessible, you make it really easy, and people are going to utilize it.
Yeah.
I think really the hardest thing is advocating for yourself is already really hard. Advocating for what you care about can be really difficult. As I love that you mentioned I love that you mentioned your learning disability, but I say that as someone who has ADHD, and I blow things out of proportion in terms of I make things so much bigger than they actually are, when it's like, it's going to take me 5 seconds. So having something so easily accessible makes it easy for me personally. And I don't feel like, oh, this is going to take forever. As well as, yes, having a QR code available, whether it's like on your menu, on your website. I always love to say, like, put it on your social media, put it in your newsletter. It's really easy to share it that way, as well as, yeah, putting it in your calendar, having it a part of your team meetings. If this is something you care about, it's also really fun to do it together. I mean, I have seen a lot of campaigns where they do like postcard writing parties. That, like, let's bring, you can do that too. That's where you just essentially get a bunch of postcards and you say, hey, can you please support this bill, or in this instance, this bill package, and send it to your representatives. You can get all of your friends involved. You can get your family involved. Another way is doing calls together. And I'm saying this as, if you are not really an internet person, if you're not really a postcard person, but you're a calling person, which is also still very, really impactful. It's, really easy to also get the phone number, offline too. But if you are someone that wants to speak, whether it's to your representative or their team, that's also another great way. I will say it seems like there is more power in doing, having kind of like an influx of messages at the same time. So, if you do it on, the second Tuesday of every month, it's a great way to just be like, hey, like, look, that, it's not just trickling in. It's, look, we are all saying this. This is 12 people, or this is 20 people. Twitter used to be really great for that. We used to have, when I was doing more, lobbying for Citizens Climate Lobby, we had like I think we called it like a tweet train, if I remember correctly. But basically, we just went down the list. We tweeted a specific, like a targeted list of representatives, and we said, hey, this is why this bill's important. Please, can you look into this? Can you sponsor this? Can this be something you support? For a long time, I don't know, I don't believe this is the case now, but on Twitter, they said that if like 12 people, wrote about the same thing to their representatives of, can you support this bill? They like took notice to it. Like their aide would actually put it like on a sheet and be like, okay, we have to like discuss this now. So it really shows power and a power in yeah, sorry, power in numbers.
Yeah.
As well as, yes, doing it once a month is really important as well too. Because it really does bring up it keeps bringing it up. The more you bring it up, the more
Because
it's
they
going to be
see
talked
it's
about.
not going to go away. This is not
Yes.
something that we only care about once a year, during Earth Day or whatever, right? We care about it all year round. It does not change the fact that we're demanding for this to start to change. For bigger change, there has to be consistency in it. And really, it is all about that building a collective voice for that change.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I love that you've gotten your team in on it too. I think that again shows it builds really good like team morale too, right? Because you're working
Sure.
beyond just your business. You're really working towards that community, like community building, right? There's a reason why that term is coined, because you really are working towards um, a better community for yourselves, your clients. And I believe we even said this in episode 1. I mean, it really does build trust with your clients where it's like, yes, I'm talking the talk, like, because I'm offering these products, but I also truly believe in these products, and I want to support a better beauty industry. So I'm going to go the extra step to do that. And I don't know, I just feel like that really does build a lot of love and trust, where it's like, you're doing this beyond the chair.
For sure. Because here's the thing, our clients see it, and they see when we actually care. And they also see when this is just I'm readying the trend because it's a trend and this is important right now, right? They know, because whether we like it or not, they can see right through us, and they feel the energy of what we're saying. So this is why I think in one of our things we talked about transparency. This is beautiful to show how transparent you are, and the things that you're doing behind the scenes. Bring them into your journey. Your clients want to know. Your community wants to know. Your team wants to know. And it builds that beautiful culture that runs through everything. And everybody talks about, especially in the industry right now, everyone's talking about stylists don't want to work. They're not motivated. They're not excited. Well, yeah, in the old traditional way of running businesses and being in a salon, yeah, I don't want to play that game either. I wouldn't be motivated to work either. Now, you show me a business that has culture deep like this, that has transparency, that stands for something bigger. I guarantee those stylists want to work. Those stylists are motivated and excited to come to work, because it's not the same traditional crap of, hey, get more clients in your chair, make more money, sell retail, work, 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 no lunch break, hustle, grind. That ship has sailed, and people just are not putting up with it. So I beg to, well, I want to say to people who are struggling with that is what kind of culture are you creating? And how can it be better? How do we get to stand up as leaders? And I'm really like, I know this is going to rub people the wrong way, but as a salon owner, you are responsible for the culture. And if it's not what you want, then you are the one that's going to have to change it. Just like these bills. If you don't like that we have these toxic ingredients in our products and you can't fathom why this is allowed, then it is your responsibility to I'm dying with the whole I like four different thumbs up, but we're rolling with it. It's your responsibility. It is your responsibility to make the change. You cannot complain and be upset and sit on the sidelines.
That I love that you say that, because I am such a believer in, if I complain about something, I have to go do something about it. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what it is. Like I got really, I'm not gonna lie, I've been in such a mood the past couple of weeks, because there has been so much information, or sorry, misinformation
Mm-hmm.
with like hurricane relief. And people saying, like they're, funding is running out and it's these people's fault and no one's helping and blah, and, so on and so forth, when actually there's a lot more that goes behind the scenes with that, which is always something I suggest, like, please, like, take a look at that as well, too. But not just that, again, an environmental issue and a people issue is not, it doesn't matter what, I guess, what side of the government you're on. I feel like that sounds like we're picking teams, which it really shouldn't be. It should be just, the government's there to help the greater good of the people.
Yeah.
However, so like I definitely complained a little bit, and then I thought, no, I have to go do something. So what I did personally was I found this platform that you can like create your own, essentially what BCPP and Campaign for Safe Cosmetics did, and created my own kind of template. And it only had to do with, let's get more funding for disaster relief. And to be 100% transparent, and it's not everyone's fault, but there were a select, I shouldn't say few because it was a lot more than few, but there were select officials that voted against climate disaster fund, like more climate disaster funding. As we know, the the climate is changing. It is pretty unstable right now. We are just going to see stronger storms. It just is what it is. It's just going to get weird. So to prevent that, you need to have something in place of it. You don't have to point fingers. You can just say this needs to be a thing. So
Yeah.
I was not very happy. I wrote an article, just highlighting what beauty professionals were doing. Again, really inspiring what they did, inspiring how much money they raise for one another. And because also, to be fair too, in Asheville, there was like only so many like roads that people could go in and out of. So it's not like there could be, a million hands in the pot to do all the things that they need to. So a lot of the work was kind of put on, grassroots organizations, and people
Yeah.
doing that. So that was something I just highlighted, as well as then, hey, please sign this, or send this template out to your government officials and say, hey, we need to have more funding for government. There was another template out there that was opening up Congress again because it's closed for the season, especially with election season, but should have been opened back up, which was being fought for. And, again, a select, more than few, but a select few officials said no.
Yeah.
But that is not okay. So I personally took my voice. I found that I found who was hosting that already. There was a lot that were already out there, so I just picked one of them. And I sent that to, the representatives I needed to send that to kind of open that back up. So if you are not happy about something, you do have the opportunity to voice it, and you do have the opportunity to bring people like on board with you. And if people
Yeah.
ignore you, what I like to do is somehow, for whatever reason on social media, like people just love to see my face, and that's where I get all of my, um, that's where you get all your likes and engagement. So, on my like personal and I like never get anything on my personal page. I think people are so sick of seeing anything to do with my business. But I post it I recently got engaged. So I, finally put that out there that we got engaged, and I got so much engagement, and I was like, perfect. So I was like, okay, if you're happy for me for my engagement, you have to sign you have to sign this petition,
I
and
love
you have
that.
to let this out or like, send this to your representatives, because sometimes that's just kind of the way you have to play it. But you can get so creative with that, of just being able um to put your voice out there. Complain, that's totally fine, but do something about it. It takes, you can make it 5 seconds.
Exactly, because it doesn't take a lot of time. And I'm like forecasting what people are, saying to themselves right now. Well, I'm only one person. I'm not, extroverted like that. I don't know how to, talk to people about this, or I don't have enough people in my circle. That's enough. We are responsible for what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And truthfully, if you do it and you only talk to if you only one person sends it in, but then because other people are hearing and other people are taking action, then it still makes a difference. That compound effect will make a huge difference. So that story of it's only me, I can't change everything, which I'll be 100% honest with you. I had that when I started my business, and it was literally just me. I felt so alone, and like nobody understood what I was trying to say, why this was important, why we needed to do something different. Just me made a change. And then people started to hear, and they started to listen, and they started to take notice, because I chose to, whether they thought I was crazy or not, use my voice. And I was, for a long time, felt like I was screaming in an empty room because nobody was listening. But I promise people started listening and taking note. So, regardless of how you feel, like if you think people will think you're crazy, again, this is the simplest step. Get on the computer, email, send in a postcard, call, whatever works easiest for you, but make that one step. And then just tell your best friend, tell your family, we all have somebody we talk to. Just get that one other person involved with you. Or do something creative like you did and say, if you're excited that I got engaged, then you have to sign this because this is important to us. That there's so many different ways. And I just don't want anyone to get into that story because it's not necessary. And if anything, message me. The day you send it or the day you call, I'll do the same. I'll be right there with you. If
You
you
know,
need somebody else to hold your hand, I got you.
yeah, same. Where
Yeah.
you got two people to back you up, and you know that
Yes.
there's so many other people that will back you up as well too. Like, we are all in this together. We all want, I mean, and to be fair, we all want the same thing, which is we just want better for our industry. We want better for our clients. We want better for our, just the world, right? Isn't that why we're here? Isn't that why we're
For
here?
sure.
So
Exactly.
please, yeah, don't be afraid to take that first step. You can always ask Jacquelyn and I your questions. She especially has gotten so creative as a salon owner. Like I don't own a salon. I, do a lot of my stuff. Door to door, I'm kind of homeless. I just like go between salons and refill shops to get anything done. But Jacquelyn has really done an incredible job keeping her clients and her employees and her community informed. So she is like such a great person to reach out to about this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, it just, that's who I am. I get passionate about something. 13, 14 years ago, I decided, to change up my cleaning products. And I opened Pandora's box when I went down the rabbit hole that is the internet. And I learned so many things that I just simply can't unlearn. And it became my purpose on this earth is to help and support the beauty industry to start making changes. Now, when I say that out loud, I'm not going to lie, that shit's scary. It just is, because that's a big statement. And I've done enough self work and, working through my own stuff to realize that it really is my purpose. And regardless of, if one person hears this podcast or if 50 million people hear this podcast, it is the same message, and we do get to make a change. And the thing that was so inspiring to me is I see people standing up every day talking about the things that is important to them, and you don't know it at the moment, that moment that it takes that courage and you're fighting through the fear to stand up and go against the grain. You don't know that when you do, there's people out there who feel the exact same way that you do, and that have been waiting for you or someone to stand up and say, hey, me too. I feel this way too. I never knew that. And now that I see it and I've crossed that, like every single time I get on a podcast or go to speak or do anything, I still have butterflies. I'm still nervous that I am going to somehow screw it up. And I do it anyway. And I see people every day making such big impact. And the inspiration and the creativity and the beauty that the beauty industry actually is. Like the amount of people who look and decided to make a change there for Asheville. They raised one girl in particular. I know. Thank
Skip,
you.
by the way, shout out Skip Fellers, because
yes.
Let me like double check, but I believe that's her name. But I like,
yes.
I mean, truly, what an inspiration that
huge inspiration.
She's done such an incredible job. It is Skip.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll put it in we'll put her handle in the show notes. And at the time of this recording, when I looked, I want to say yesterday or this morning, hairstylists had raised $68,000 to help support the other hairstylists who are out of work right now, who are struggling and suffering because of these disasters. And like, she didn't have to do that, right? She was going through all of that, and she has her own struggles, but she has a voice. She used her voice, and she was able to make huge impact. And the thing that gets me excited and also very emotional is anybody can do that, right? So anytime I'm complaining about being scared to get out there and talk about things or get my clients or my team on board, just remember it only takes one person. So I went on a total tangent there, but obviously I was a little excited and passionate about that part because I know that that's how I felt. And I know others feel that way. So we can get back on topic.
Well, I also just wanted to, before, before wrapping up, I just wanted to say I love that you say that because I believe there is also, there really is a privilege that comes with kind of having the mental capacity or having the physical capacity to be able to speak out what you believe in. Um, and I say that as, right, not everyone has the same opportunities or the same accessibility or social justice is rooted in environmental justice. So taking care of one another and making sure um they have kind of that ability to be safe. That's also one thing you can take a step further too, is while the beauty industry is going through a huge makeover, so the reason why also certain, products can end up being a little bit more expensive if they're, using different ingredients or whatnot is because the market's not really there yet. If a market is a little bit more oversaturated, it's going to be a little less expensive, which is, really great. For example, a lot more brands are switching to like post-consumer recycled material for their packaging. It's getting cheaper because the demand is up. More people want to see that. There is a little bit more accessibility because people are, there's more recycling initiatives out there. This is obviously the same for ingredients. So, make sure to also tell your favorite brands that too. If they are, maybe you would like to see something, let that be known because, and I don't know necessarily how much regulation can really hit the point of, hey, can you give me this kind of product without making it so expensive?
Yeah.
And I say that because, there's definitely a lot of work to be done. I think regulation is a huge part of it. I also think, being able to talk to brands in any capacity, whether it's you're emailing them, you're telling your beauty rep, um, you know, just kind of making your statement heard, I think we can find a really good balance there. But, things are always going to be a little wonky before they are, before they're exactly where we want it to be. Kind of mentioned this last time. It's that mess around and find out stage. We're finding out with some things, we're messing around with a few other things. So, again, don't be afraid to speak out, but do it more than just your Facebook or, or your Instagram or Reddit. Like go straight to the source and tell these people what you want. They're not going to find, they're not going to go on Reddit and go through, all the comments of why someone's mad at you for whatever reason. So make that known too. It really does then it can help. This can be good for all communities and not just people that have the privilege to be able to afford some of these products or have the time to speak on some of these things that they would like to see. That's just kind of my my 2 cents on that.
And that is a very valid point and an important point. We do have to look at, for me, I have the privilege of having a business, having the resources to be able to get the products that I like. But where that changes is not just using it for my salon, but making the change outside of that to make it more accessible for everyone. And that was my entire belief system to start the academy. Was, yeah, it's great that I'm one of the only salons like within a 30-mile radius that has any type of cleaner, healthier, wellness-based services. Now, there are some others recycling and doing Green Circle, and that's phenomenal. But why am I the only one? And I don't want to be the only one. I shouldn't be. Every client should have access to a salon that is based more on wellness and less toxic ingredients than what we have now. So it's my risk. I have taken on the responsibility to then educate others and support them and give them the tools and the resources that I didn't have to actually create that. Right. And it's not a cookie cutter. It's not the exact same. It's what's important to you, just like these beauty bills. Like, what's the most important to you? And then write about it, talk about it, use your voice for it. What's the most important to you and put it into your business. Create a unique experience around that. That culture is so important. And the more that we have access to that, and everyone has access to that, the more the prices will come down and it becomes our new normal. That becomes now how the beauty industry is run versus what we have known for the last few decades of hustle culture, super toxic products, services, and mindset. That is what we have known. That's what I came into the beauty industry expecting, being told that that's how it ran. And I didn't question it until I did. And then all of a sudden, things changed. So I think it's a really important piece to bring that out is like the more of us that stand up for this, the more that it can start to actually become accessible to everyone who deserves it. Every single person deserves to have an option. Absolutely. To have better products, to have better environments, to have a planet,
we do love
excuse
having
me.
a planet. So
yeah,
at least
awesome.
a planet that we, don't have to worry where our next meal comes from, which I mean is also right. Again, right, the privilege of that is not everyone's day to day, but it becomes a lot more of an issue when more and more people cannot, acquire food or drink clean water or breathe fresh air. So, this is just one in a million things that we can do. Definitely is getting involved in this.
I love it. Well, I mean, we can always talk for like 3 hours. And for the third part of this series, what do you think is going to happen in the future for the beauty industry regulations?
I'm just hoping to see, honestly, I'm hoping to see a lot more transparency and you know what, more research and development, because and I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. I think there's also a lot of extreme sides too. And I think, having two extremes, you can meet somewhere in the middle too. And I say this as an example of, we're kind of at a point like with sunscreen, for example. I didn't really realize this was such a big thing until her name is Jen, and she has the Eco Well podcast, but she talks about how a lot of people have been like fear mongering sunscreen, where and I personally, like, I I do try to use like mineral-based sunscreen. I think there's kind of like a whole thing around that. So but
Yes.
that's just my personal like use. I use mineral sunscreen. But, a lot of people talk about, well, you don't want to use any of this stuff because it's really toxic. But then because of that, people aren't using sunscreen anymore.
Yes.
That's really bad. We're barely 20 years out of like this, like the like sun tanning booths. Like I mean, I don't know, we used sun tanning booths even like in high school. Like 15 years ago for me. And
Yeah.
I didn't really use it because I burn. And I've got like a whole thing anyway going on. But like as an example, like I think we're gonna see a lot of that. But the more funding there is in research, where we can look at alternative ingredients, as what, so then there can be compromise for both sides. I think that, we can find something in the middle that people feel comfortable about, and not just go from you know, one end or the other. And I'm not saying like using, a certain sunscreen that's not mineral based is like totally extreme. I just mean like we have, there's been also a lot of recalls on like a specific sunscreen brand that I'm like, oh, I'm just like not gonna I'm just not gonna use that.
Yeah.
But that baseline, at least we move it. So we can put more trust in it, but we also then have the research to back it up.
Yeah.
I know there's like a whole thing with hair developer or color developers currently, like, is ammonia better? Is an ammonia alternative better? Well, there's not really a lot of research in that. This is just my personal opinion. This is not like, this is just me
Yeah.
saying this. I think there's just like a really wide spectrum. So let's just see, like let's have the opportunity to be able to have more, just to be able to research a little bit more. Let's dig in a little bit deeper and let's be transparent about it. It's so okay if we thought we did so. This is for everything. Parenting's a big one, like with this example, but you don't know what you don't know until we get there. You don't know something's wrong until later we're like, ooh, that's not great.
Yeah.
Again, parenting practices, drinking alcohol, smoking tobacco, like there's just so much that we don't know until later on. So we like also need to really we we need to give a lot of grace with that. So if we stop pointing fingers and being so angry about, something as like little as that compared to, I mean, and I'm saying that as I complain about so many other things, but like those are just like such small things that it's like, well, let's, work on that together so we can find a solution. So I'm hoping we see a lot of that too, like working together for solutions. Maybe they'll make that a legislation bill. We'll see.
There
But
we go.
yeah.
I love that. And I think that those are, that's exactly what I want to see too. That is the transparency, the research for everything. We need more research. We need more data telling us what is and not, harming us and what's working and what's not. That's just common sense. And until it becomes important and there's more demand on it, the research just isn't going to be there. So that's again why it's so important to start going back to what can my voice do? How can I start to make some change and get people to voice that, talk about it. The more you talk about it, you have a platform. Every single hairstylist has someone in their chair that we talk to day in and day out, or not. Well, I guess we don't talk to them day in, day out, but we have someone in the chair that we are talking to. And it is our choice what we talk to them about. So instead of talking about what happened on the weekend or, crazy stories, start bringing some of these things up and getting people, just giving them the opportunity to have the education and make changes together. That's what I want to see. The future of the industry is going to depend on how much awareness we bring around this, because it can easily get swept up under the rug. When we talked in episode 2, or part 2, is they're at 0%. Why? Because there's not enough demand and awareness around it. So that's what we got to do. Bring the transparency, pull awareness around it, and then we're going to start to see some change and having that research. And until we get the full-on research, do your research, advocate for yourself, look at what is important to you, take one product, take one thing, and just look, what is this ingredient actually doing? What is it helping you with? What's it harming you with? Whatever. Just start there. Start small and just take some action. And that's really why we had this podcast. So we can go on and on. I know I can get very wordy because I'm really passionate about this, but thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, for being on this with me, for using your voice and your time to looking deeper into these bills for us in the industry. Like it means a lot. So thank you.
Thanks for having me here. I do really appreciate just having the opportunity to talk about this. Again, like everyone, I am not an expert. I am just an individual who really does think that we forget our own voice and that we do have an opportunity to utilize it, especially when we feel like everything is so out of our control. This is our way that we can have some control.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to wrap this series up. And as we're wrapping this up, I'm going to challenge each one of you to go to the link in the show notes, because I'm going to have it linked, and send your representative a letter. And then what I would love is for you to send the letter, screenshot it, take a picture of it, or just post and tag Hannah and myself that you sent in a letter to your representative. Let's start getting the word out. And that's one easy way to do it, is send in the letter, tag us on social media. We will share it for you. I will share it, at least. I know Hannah will too. Yeah, I know Hannah too, but I didn't want to say it for you. So
I love that you're also using that too. I won't say anything for you, but yes. No, and I will share it too.
Words in your mouth, but she's going to share it. No. No, but thank you. So that's your homework, if you will. The three-part series, we broke everything down for you. We couldn't make it any easier for you to just go into the show notes and send your representative a letter, just with your concerns and asking them to support this bill. And thank you. I hope you enjoyed the series. Let us know what else you would like to hear. And I will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Hi. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Impactful Salon Owners Podcast. I hope today's episode gave you valuable insight and inspiration to take your salon to the next level. Before you go, I wanted to remind you that the Holistic Salon Academy is opening up soon. So if you're ready to dive deeper into clean, holistic, and sustainable salon practices and build a truly impactful business, be sure to join the wait list. By signing up, you'll be the first to access all of the details and exclusive content before anyone else. You definitely don't want to miss out. And of course, don't Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this one, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps to grow the show and reach more salon owners just like you. And lastly, come hang out with me on Instagram at Clean Beauty Biz Coach, where I'm a real life person who loves to connect with you. I'm always in my DMs answering your questions and would love to chat more over there. Thanks again for being here, and remember, every step forward is a step towards lasting change. Until next time.